Find out which neighborhoods that most of your best customers come from. Go and hit those neighborhoods over and over again until you dominate them. That's the way to do it. I mean, you put an ad on Facebook, maybe a 5-mile radius from your office, and do those video ads, just branding. We're here, let you know we're here,
Yeah.
because people are not going to might not see your actual shop as they're driving by. So dominate one single area.
Hello, everyone, and welcome to another episode of Home Service Hustle. I'm your host, Jonathan Bannister, and today I am with Bill Brown. And Bill is the former owner of Paramount Heating and Air, and he is the new Chief Marketing Officer at OnePath. He is also the founder of the Facebook group ServiceTitan Hacks. Bill, welcome. This is our second time doing this. We had a little technical issue the first time, but I'm glad you're here, man. Thank you.
Yeah, thanks for having me.
All right, well, look, let's get started. So I said you are the former owner of Paramount, and so you just recently sold the business.
I did about a month ago now.
Okay. Mm-hmm. And so you had it for what, 12, 13 years?
Yeah, I had it for 12 years. So it was, man, that's like half of my whole adult working career. It's crazy.
All right. So you have almost 25 years in the industry. So tell us a little bit how the industry started.
How did I get started in it? Yeah. So I was working as a handyman, and I always wanted to, or I always was messing with my car and different things in my home. I certainly did not get any of those skills from my dad. I remember watching him replace a toilet, and he dropped the old toilet and broke it, went and bought a new one, dropped that and broke it. It was a 2-day job. So I got none of my handyman skills from my dad. So just messed with things myself and ended up working with a contractor that did handyman work. And we were working on HVAC one day, and I realized it was a lot more technical than I thought. And I decided to go to school and get a degree in HVAC. And then I ended up working in an AC manufacturer, Liebert, and we manufactured ACs for data centers.
Okay.
So it was pretty cool in my mid-20s to be able to travel around to different places like the Pentagon and Apple and HP and go in these data centers and watch these $100,000 air conditioners cool these $1 million server racks. It was a lot of fun. After I did field service at Liebert for a little while, I worked on quality engineering, which was a lot of fun for me because I love flow charts and I'm a big nerd. A lot of people love flow charts though, right? Especially in the marketing business, right?
I mean, I do, right?
Yeah. And then in 2012, I had that entrepreneurial seizure, right? And said to myself that, I'll never be happy unless I give my own business a shot. And with that naivety, I started Paramount with, what did I have, like $25,000, which I would never start a business with $25,000 again. It was terrible. But we grew each year and was fortunate enough to be able to provide for my family and employees for a long time.
That's awesome. What did y'all get to, like, if you don't mind, total revenue? Like, what was your peak?
We were at 3.7 at our peak, and I felt like we probably could have done more than that. Unfortunately, I moved to Florida in early 2020, timed at the time that COVID started. And so I had to learn how to operate a business from 1,500 miles away during COVID. And it was more difficult to operate it further away than I anticipated. So I learned how to do it, but I never really got to take advantage of that COVID wave that we had.
Right.
A lot of lessons learned.
Do you think because you worked, ran a business remotely, do you think, what did you learn from that? And is it doable? Like if, obviously you may not recommend it, but like, let's say you're going to be a remote GM to 3 or 4 different places. Obviously I've seen that done before. So what did you learn from it?
Well, you have to have really good leadership in place, and that you have to be a better leader than you were before. And so you always have to grow ahead of the guys that you have, right? So
Mm.
I had a lot of risk having a single point of failure, a single GM in
Yeah.
place, right? And so that was something that I learned, was how to set expectations a lot better and a lot clearer. But that was a painful lesson, right? Um, so another thing, if you're the owner, from what I've seen from guys that have done this remotely, they do travel to the location to see the people
Okay.
so that you're not just looked at 100% like an investor. And so what I found was, when I travel, I don't sleep very well, like at all. So I would go up there and I loved going to the office and seeing the people. But after a while, I was just so tired when I went, and that was not much fun. Another thing is, I really enjoyed having meetings and being an operator. So inspiring the team, going over sales training, talking about wins and losses, and doing that over Zoom was not the same as
Right.
doing it in person, right? So I really lost the passion that I had for operating a business when I moved. So I didn't
And,
think I would, but I did.
and was that the plan all along? Was moving part of the plan, or
No, I in 2019, my wife and I were sitting waiting on a table at our favorite restaurant, and it was May, and it was like 35 degrees out, like mid end of May in Columbus. And I'm like, I gotta get out of here. I told her, I was like, we gotta get out of here. Let's move to Florida. And she's like, really? Because I mean, I had a business at that time. We had, I don't know, maybe 20 employees at that time. And we just went ahead and did it because I knew that I wanted to retire here eventually, but I didn't think that no matter what, I could live forever, right? Or I would live forever. So I wanted to do it now rather than wait.
I love that.
Yeah.
A lot of people live and die with their wants and wishes and dreams, right? So,
Yeah, I don't have any regrets. I do things, I guess I'm a little more risk adverse than people. I have no regrets. I do have a lot of lessons learned, hard
yeah.
lessons learned, but I won't look back and say, well, I wish I didn't try it. I wish I would have tried that, because I do try it.
So let's talk about the numbers. Like, did you have to change anything on how you were collecting the data, the financials and stuff, like you being away? Was there any changes you had to make there, kind of watching things a little tighter, or
Yeah, I had to really clean up the KPIs as far
Mhm.
as reducing them down to the least amount of most important KPIs as possible. Because I remember putting dashboards together, which I love, and there would be, 15 KPIs on it, and people would look at it and they'd be like, all right, which one of these do I work on first? So I started figuring out how to slice them down to the real important ones in order to be able to communicate those, because the GM had to know exactly what it was, and then he had to be able to communicate it to the managers and the technicians. So I just cut out a lot of KPIs, really, and
what do
everything.
you feel like you talk about those
hmm
most important ones? What do you think the top 3 or 5 are?
Well, I've always liked to use average appointment value, which is obviously the combination of revenue and your close rate. So what I like to think was, every single time that I got a AC demand call on the board for someone who told us their system was over 10 years old, every time we were dispatched to that call and knocked on the door, it was worth 2,900 bucks for us, right? And that would be the combination of, for that job, what was sold as far as a repair, and if it did a tech turnover, what was sold as far as a system goes. So I knew that I'd get 2,900 bucks every time a call like that came on the board, and that was really helpful for me to be able to have that info. And I just split it down to, homeowners that had systems that were newer than 10 years and older than 10 years, and then the
Right.
different job types we did, which was heating repair, maintenance, cooling repair and maintenance, and installs. So
What did you call that KPI again? Average what?
average appointment value. So
Okay.
that's every time we ran a job, and I didn't use canceled jobs in there. How much money on average did it put in the bank for that door knock? Right.
And what was the value for you for the under 10 years?
For the under 10 years on AC was like 1250.
Okay.
Yeah. And then we did close rate on our memberships was really important. Review rate per customer. So what I would have is we had a metric that said, all right, this is how many customers we worked for last month. And then we would tag the Google review to the job, and anyone that was involved with that customer would get credit for the review, right? Because I wanted to rope in installers and technicians together, because the review for an install is from the office to the technician to the sales guy through the installer, right? So everybody got credit for the review.
What about tech efficiency? Did you pay attention to that much?
All I looked at was the average time on the job and then the average windshield time.
Okay.
But I kind of just looked overall at our technicians, at our labor costs,
Gotcha.
right? So obviously hitting um, gross profit was really important, because I mean, if you don't do that, you're dead, right?
Right.
So, and we had fluctuations in service and maintenance where we didn't hit it. And over time, we got a lot better at install, where we just blew it out of the water. So install tended to pull the gross profit of the whole company up. And I really didn't like that. I thought we could do better in service and maintenance, but it's a lot more work to be proficient at that, right?
Right. Absolutely.
Mm-hmm.
What did y'all do for training? Like 12 years, probably a lot changed, but tell me
Mm-hmm.
some of the good, bad, and the ugly of how you got your guys more dialed in, how they
Mm-hmm.
probably were when you were selling the business than,
Yeah.
during the beginning and middle stages.
Well, at the very beginning, I had no budget for training. So it was me doing the CSR, dispatching, accounting, installing, all that. And so I would train guys on site. And the technicians that I found at the beginning went to trade school. And so they were okay technically. And by going to trade school, they were communicating that they really wanted to learn the industry.
Right.
And so technical training wasn't very difficult. What became difficult very quickly was sales training, right? So we did a really good job at working for customers and making them happy. But my accountant, about 6 months into the business, said, "Wow, Bill, you seem like you do good work, but you're not making any money at all, because your pricing is terrible." So we had to change the pricing. I had to understand it and believe in the pricing, believe in the value we delivered, and then communicate that to the technicians so that they can communicate it to the customer. And that's been a challenge always. Every new technician that comes in, you have to explain to them, this is why the pricing is what it is, and they have to believe in it and believe in the value.
So
And
walk me through that. All right. 'Cause I
yeah,
deal with this with clients all the time.
all the time.
All the
Yeah.
time. And, you know, we look like when I'm putting stuff together for the marketing, it's like
Hmm.
I'm not going as deep into their KPIs as
Yeah.
they need to run the operations of their business. But I do want to look at average tickets with the callbacks removed. I want to know the average install tickets.
Hmm.
I want to know the COGS. I want to understand the overhead expenses so I can at least see that, because most of the time they go, I'm like, what'd you do in revenue last year? Oh, we did 4 million. What do you
Yeah.
want to do next year? 6 million.
Yeah.
Okay. And then the next one, it'll be like, what'd you do last year? We did 3.5. What do you want to do? 4.5. And, so there's no rhyme or reason. It's just a perfect round
Yeah.
number that they want to throw out there. But then when we back in based off of their actual numbers of their business, and
Hmm.
I kind of walk them through what it's going to take to actually get close to achieving that. Now all of a sudden, they got alligator arms and they can't find their wallet. And I'm like, well, wait a minute. You wanted to grow from 4 million to 8 million in 1 year, but
Right.
you all of a sudden thought like it was just gonna, I'm Jesus and I'm gonna make it 130 degrees outside every day and it's just gonna be magic.
Yeah. You
Um,
definitely don't want to rely on the weather strictly for growth, right?
right.
So,
But what
yeah, how
about
many
the
new
numbers? I will tell you that what I
yeah.
hear though is when they give me their average service tickets, a lot of times
Mhm.
it's scary. It's $350. It's,
Mhm.
320, 400, and they're in markets where I know for a fact before I even start getting numbers from them that the windshield time, the cost for that vehicle to leave their parking lot and to go to a customer's home is
Mhm.
costing more than what it is for them on that average ticket that I see there. And so, how did you train the guys? I know it's a mindset,
Yeah.
right? And so, how did you work through that with some of the guys?
Man, I tried all different ways to do it and communicate it, right? So many different ways. And so let me think about the one of the one of the more effective ways that I did it was there was a time that our average install was like $9,000. And so I took Monopoly money, 9,000 bucks, and I told the guys, I set it on the table. They were all there. I think it was at like a Christmas party. So it was real low key, And I said, all right, guys, you guys are the ones that accept the payments from the job, 9,000 bucks, right? So, how much of this $9,000 do you think the equipment cost is? Just the furnace, the AC, and the coil. What do you think that is? And some guys were like 1,500. Some guys were like 6,000. They were all over the place with it,
Okay.
right? And so I was like, well, about 30%. So I took the 30% of the money away, said, okay, now we have, $6,000. All right. How much do you think that all the materials are? We took, maybe 10% or something. We took those away. How much do you think that the gas costs for this, right? 2%, right? And so we started taking all these things out. And I didn't get um every single line item from an income statement, right? Just like the bigger ones and kind of put them together and showed at the end of that job there was like 1,300 bucks, right? I talked about labor and everything, which they were pretty good on labor costs because they knew how much they got for the flat rate job, right?
Mm-hmm.
And so, all right, guys, there's 1,300 bucks left. So let's say that we made this mistake. We accidentally ordered a line set and we didn't price it for the job. How much does it cost to put that line set in or something? And price of the line set, the labor, and brazing materials and everything. And then I said, all right, there goes 80% of our profit right there, gone. Right. And so they could see how $9,000 was not $9,000. It was 1,300. Right. So I just showed them the cost and I think that helped a little bit for them on the installation side, and on service side, I did something a little similar to that. And I kind of just did real high level to show them how much the business costs I did it per hour to run. This is how much it costs per hour to run. So, and then we add the marketing in. This is our customer acquisition cost. And then here's what we need to make in order to break even. And break even isn't great, right? How are we going to grow with that? So, I always try to drive our customer acquisition cost down and increase the lifetime value of them, right?
Yeah.
So I think our customer acquisition cost was like 140 when I left, which is pretty good.
Yeah.
I'm not, I don't look at other contractors' metrics, but we had a pretty good customer acquisition cost.
That's good.
So I
So
think it was helpful, but you had to start that conversation with every technician needed to know that because we
yeah.
went in the home and he saw that $5 capacitor and it was 450 bucks. And the customer goes, that's $5. And he go, yeah, it is. Yeah, I think it's too much, and if he thought it
Right.
was too much, you would non-verbally communicate that to the customer. I did it when I first started. I didn't believe in the 425 until I saw the real costs. And then I still was like, man, that still seems high, but it is what it is, right?
Yeah, that's a tricky one there for me because as a homeowner, I understand that there's certain things for me. There's many, many things outside of the scope of what I can do. Like ask my
Yeah.
wife and she'll tell you like I can't fix anything. But it's just like I just don't it's not my desire. I like to give other people, jobs. That's what they're there for.
Yeah.
But I don't I'm not the type person that's ever like questioned if my AC is not working, you're gonna tell me what's wrong. If I seem it's like crazy, absurd, and super expensive, I may get a second opinion.
Yeah.
But like if they're pretty close into what, I'm not gonna go research each part and find out how much it was. I mean, because at the end of the
Yeah.
day, I can't do that. And so I know that person doing it is skilled and trained and certified to be able to fix whatever that problem is. So I know that that's a big one that's out there that on a daily basis, I see the reviews coming in from our clients and
Mhm.
people are, they rip me off. Like, they charged me 900 and the part was only
Mhm.
$50. I looked it up on Amazon. I don't have the perfect
Yeah.
way to combat that. I understand that transparency is important. Like it's important in our business, but I also think, um, putting every single little line item on the invoice could
Yeah.
backfire on you because it's like you're just opening up a can of worms and asking them to go, like, listen, here's the problem. Your motor is not turning on and you've got some things wrong and we need to go fix it. Like, I don't know. Like maybe there's a line there that you may not have to disclose every little thing because today's age, like the internet wasn't and Google wasn't a thing 20, 25 years ago where
Mhm.
people were searching and asking every little thing that you were doing. You ran a business, you fixed their shit, you moved on.
Yeah. Well, I mean, customers have I think when a customer calls, well, I'm pretty sure that they have an expectation of what it's gonna cost in their mind. And that expectation might have 0 facts behind it. It's more like what they hope it's gonna cost, right?
Right.
And so I talked to my guys, I remember, man, a while ago, I said, "What's your oh shit number?" And they said, "What do you mean?" I said, "Let's say you get up in the morning and you turn on your car and it doesn't start. And you have to take it in. You're not a mechanic. You can't fix it. You don't know the mechanic. What's the dollar amount that he would show you to fix it? And you'd go, oh shit, that's a problem, right? The range of dollar amounts from one guy to another was huge. One
Right.
guy was like $200. One guy was like 5,000. And I was like, wait a minute. So if you got a bill for 4,500 to fix your car, you'd be okay with it? He's like, yeah. So I think that's what our customers are experiencing, right? So we would go into a real nice neighborhood and we'd go in and, a blower motor replacement might be like $1,200 and they'd be like, okay, when can you do it? And
Right.
you get it done. And then you go in that same neighborhood to the neighbor, tell them the same price and they give you a 1-star review. It's like, what the heck? One thing I found is you will get much less price objections if your brand shows the customer that you're expensive if it
Correct.
communicates it that way, right?
This is what
So
I'm preaching to my clients
when
every
when
day.
you come out and you look so if you look cheap on the internet, then you're going to attract cheap people. If you look expensive, that's who you'll attract. And so as we made our brand better and better and eventually got to the point where we had Dan Antonelli at Kick Charge do it, we didn't get calls from people in areas that couldn't afford our services.
Right.
They knew, man, these guys are going to be expensive.
Yeah.
So we didn't have to, we had very little price objections because of that. Now, a big company that's on TV and everything probably will still get calls from everywhere. So I see giant companies reviews have price complaints on them, right? So you're still always going to get that. But I really think the brand is a big deal and as far as how you can price.
That's probably, I mean, I'm so glad you said that. That's probably the most talked about thing that I am speaking to my clients about on a regular basis right now.
Yeah.
And I think the conversation we're having at the very beginning of our communication, because I want them to know like, you need to stop chasing leads. Like, stop trying to only go after leads. And like, there's this addiction like almost like it's a drug, like Google and Yelp and all these platforms, Angie's List. And when they're not getting enough of that drug, like they're freaking out because they're only wanting to buy customers. But to try to get their mindset to be the company that people think about whenever they have a problem and they've never used you before, but
Mhm.
stop relying on them going to Google to find you. Like, you want to be there. You obviously want to be there, but
Mhm.
don't make that be what you're relying on. You need to make sure that your brand is so strong that there's something, whether it was something funny, something emotional, something angry, whatever. Make sure there was something emotional that someone has tied a connection to you. And so
Mhm.
that when they do visually see your brand, and then they also heard something or they saw something that made them feel something, then when they do have a problem, and they will, it's not a matter of
Right.
if,
Yeah.
it's when. But so whether you do plumbing or you do HVAC or whatever it is, they're going to have a problem eventually. You want those people that go, oh, let me think of Paramount, or
Mhm.
let me, even if they can't remember you, you want your brand to be so strong, your direct search goes up, right? Because they're typing in
Yeah.
your name. But if they don't remember you, but they know, if I saw the name or if I
Mhm.
saw the logo, I'm going to remember it. And so then
Yeah.
if they do go to air conditioning companies in your city, and when they see it, it's not a competition with you and those other 14,
Right.
15 people on the page. They're just go, oh, I just needed to put in AC repair because I needed to find that company I was looking for. But that takes money that doesn't give an instant return on investment. And that is the problem, is branding isn't that drug fix. It's not,
Mm-mm.
I'm going to put $1 in, I want $2 back, or I can't do that advertising or campaign with you. Brand. And then so I'll ask them, like, well, what do you think billboards are? Right. And I don't know if you do billboards. I'm just talking to these people and I'm going,
Mhm.
but billboards, if you put a tracking number on a billboard, you're going to be very sad at the end of the day when you get what the return on investment is. That's
Yeah, it
not
was
how
gonna be real bad.
billboards work. That's not how radio works. And that's not how TV works. But
Right.
the companies that do it and do it well, they are the ones that are typically around forever,
Yeah.
because you're creating a brand that is recognizable, is not forgotten, and it pops in people's heads whenever
Mhm.
they do have a problem. So, you mentioned about having that strong brand. Is that something, like, how long did it take y'all before you decided to rebrand with Dan?
Well, when I first started, our brand was okay. I liked the name Paramount. It was okay. But I remember getting our first giant box truck, and I was like, this is a huge billboard. Let's enhance this brand a little bit. So I had a graphic designer add purple and yellow into it. So it was blue, red, purple, and yellow. And there was a lot of purple in the wrap, and it was unique to the area. No
Right.
other company, plumbing, electric, anybody had purple, purple trucks. And
Right. A
so
lot of blue and red, though.
a lot of blue and red, yeah.
Okay.
So we were different. I think that's a big deal. I mean,
Yeah.
you have to be different. You have to look different. And when we switched to having Dan do it, he just made the logo a lot sexier. Something that I was a little bit more proud of,
Okay.
and one that fit, I think, better in our website and everything. But that was probably 2020 when we did it with him.
Okay.
But our major growth happened during when we switched over to that purple color and
Mm,
added that in there.
interesting.
And one of the things about it is when we first started, I had no money, right? No money. And 25,000 to start a company, even if that just all went to marketing, is really not a lot. So I said, okay, I could I need to narrow down my marketing area. And I narrowed it down to neighborhoods. I said, there's 1,000 people in this neighborhood. Their air conditioner the homes are, 10 to 12 years old. I drove around the neighborhoods and looked at the air conditioners, and I had a map drawn like on a piece of paper, and I X'd off the homes that had new ACs and it was a long way, but I said, look, if I need to spend $10 at each one of these houses over the next year, right, through direct mail, through, um, you know, a local magazine in the neighborhood. I want to be as surgical as possible for these customers, right? And so like 25% of them or so had new ACs. So we hit the 75% that didn't over and over again with direct mail. And then our trucks were in that neighborhood, and we would get people would say, "Yeah, I saw your truck." And or we read your reviews, things like that. And so we were able to dominate just neighborhoods, and then we spread out to just suburbs. So our company was in New Albany, and we ended up, last time I checked, worked for 32% of the homes in New Albany, which is crazy. I never thought it would get that high, but all of our marketing went into just that suburb until we felt that we were to the point where we had reached saturation, and we had to kind of just maintain and then go to another suburb, right? So if you want to really dominate, shrink down your market size, right? Now, I'm not saying we didn't work in other suburbs. We would, but we put all of our marketing dollars in the one. But it worked well for us.
I love that. So there you go. You heard what Bill said. Start small, own your backyard, then own your neighbor's backyard. Then you can go to the next neighborhood down's backyard, but you have to start small and get hyper focused. And I think that's a big problem. I don't think it's a problem that's probably talked about enough, is that most people start off and, they're in debt, like I'm in Dallas. So they're like, well, I'll go the whole DFW area. And it's like, take an hour and a half to get to one side to the other. But it's like, well, how do you plan on, you're just going to take random phone calls, because you're not like you're going to immediately out the gate, you're going to come up in searches throughout all of DFW, but you're willing to take work throughout all of it, or you're going to get in Valpac or something and do the whole DFW area. It's like, why not get hyper focused? Go knock on doors, go hand some people a gift in a folder, like a nice, well-presented folder, be presentable, like be in a nice uniform, tell them that I'm the owner and this is my wife. And, these are my kids, and we would like to just introduce ourselves. And here's a gift. Like, people have really forgotten, like, how do you own your backyard and then spread out? Like, I mean, you could literally put a geofence around, a few thousand, like call it 10,000 homes. You could hit them digitally. You could hit them with direct mail over and over and over. You could canvas 5 or 10,000 homes, throughout the year on foot. I mean, the impact that would have, I just don't think a lot of people are willing to do it.
Well, find out which neighborhoods that most of your best customers come from, right?
Right.
And then just go and hit those neighborhoods over and over again until you dominate them, right? And right, that's the way to do it. I mean, you put an ad on Facebook, maybe a 5-mile radius from your office, and do those video ads, just branding. We're here, let you know we're here, because people are not going to might not see your actual shop as they're driving by. So dominate one single area, right? That's it.
All right, Bill, let's move over to the Facebook page. All right. So how long have you had the ServiceTitan Hacks page?
I've had it about a year and a half now, and we got like 7,500 members. So That's pretty cool.
So what was the main reason for starting the page?
So when we switched, our company switched to ServiceTitan in 2022, I thought that it was going to be really easy, like we were going to be able to consolidate all of our software and, kind of what software companies promise, right? And I found out it was a lot more difficult than I had anticipated, and that if you were a smaller company, you probably don't have the resources to truly take advantage of the platform. And so, I found some hacks, some things that I was able to do through software like Zapier and some other things. And I said, I wonder if other home service business owners are having this trouble with ServiceTitan. So I just started the group and started dropping some of my solutions in there, get some conversations going, and found that yeah, a lot of people struggle with the software.
So, what was some of the biggest things in your own business when y'all made the switch that were big challenges for you guys with ServiceTitan?
Getting all of our data from our previous FSM into ServiceTitan was a little challenging because it didn't bring all the photos over, brought some of the notes over. The way that the invoices were not easy to see. You had to really dig into it, and that was trouble. And the app in the field was pretty different than the desktop version. So I'd be there on the desktop version, and it was hard to translate that to the guys in the field. Hey, this is where you go to find this information. So getting being able to take our existing information and onboard quickly was a real challenge. And then what else did we have a challenge with? Memberships, getting memberships right was a
Okay.
little tricky, and making sure those were set up correctly. Price book, we used Pricebook Pro at the beginning, but I didn't really like the process or the overall sales process and how they build it. So I had to build my own price book. That was a little tricky. Um, yeah, a bunch of little things, right? Nothing huge.
Right. All right. So let's use this to pivot into you're now the new chief marketing officer at OnePath.
Mm-hmm.
Talk a little bit about OnePath, who they are, and kind of what your role is going to be moving forward.
Yeah, so OnePath is a new startup, and what we do is we create AI agents that manage every single part of your business, right? So an AI agent is like a virtual assistant that's trained to do one very specific task. So, for example, you would be, let's say you hired somebody to take care of the paperwork for warranty in your company.
Okay.
And this is what you needed to do in order to complete that and fill it out. Well, you could train, or we train an AI agent to do that specific task so that it's automated. So we're trying to automate through workflows and using LLMs or AI, trying to automate every single part of your business, everything. And it really starts with the whole customer journey, which starts at the um, CRM side, right? So customer relationship management tools will accept all different types of leads into them so that you can nurture those leads and then convert them into jobs. And that's where ServiceTitan starts, is the jobs part.
Right.
And then when you're done with that, then there's the after the job marketing, the existing customer journey, right? So OnePath will pick that up and create customized um, customer journeys for each customer based upon the type of work they did and very specific elements from the job, right? So that's what we do is we bolt on to the front and the end of ServiceTitan for the whole customer journey.
So is this something that's available now?
Not yet. So we're building out the MVP, and the first part of it should be available, I'd say, in early December.
Okay.
The guys that are on the engineering team have been training AI models for many years. They've been doing it since before ChatGPT was out, and they also have a lot of experience with ServiceTitan, as they had written AI dispatch software for ServiceTitan. So I'm excited to see it. There's so many different AI agents that can be created. It's almost overwhelming for us to prioritize which one we engineer first, right? But what I love about it is these agents they don't require any onboarding. They just work. And that solves the big problem I had with ServiceTitan was the onboarding. So contractors don't want to mess with that stuff. They just want it to work.
That's right.
They don't want to be sitting in front of their computer. messing with software all day. They just want the outputs from it. And we're going to be able to do that because of AI.
Yeah, it's super exciting stuff. I've actually, obviously I've been able to see the back end and how it works, and it's going to be game changing for those people that want to be more efficient, don't want the stress and the headache of, big software and not operating, like you said, the way that they want it to work. So it's super cool.
Yeah, man. I mean, efficiency is the new sexy, right?
It is.
It is.
Yeah. All right. Well, we're at the time of this show where I'm going to throw some rapid fire questions out at Bill. You just shoot from the hip, take your drink, your energy drink.
I've been doing that the whole time.
Yeah. All right. Well,
yeah. There's no prep. We're just shooting from the hip.
Here we go.
What do we got?
Childhood hero.
My father.
This is an easy one. Beach or mountains?
Beach.
I mean, he moved to the beach on the whim because of a cold winter day.
Yeah.
Right. Famous person that you would invite to the dinner table. They can be dead or alive.
Arnold Schwarzenegger.
Interesting.
Right. Yeah.
All right. Most adventurous thing you've ever done?
Gosh. Moved to Florida when I had a business with 20 some odd employees. That was probably the most adventurous thing.
Something surprising most people don't know about Bill.
Oh, I love woodworking, man. So I love doing things with my hand. I built the shelves that are behind me. I built the wall, made that sign up there.
Really?
Yeah. So I'm at the computer all day, right? So I need to get up and move around, and that's how I do it.
If you had to make a sudden career change, what would it be?
Well, I did do it. I would say I would love to create a wood shop and make heirloom quality furniture.
That's awesome. I watch a lot of those shows on TV, and it's cool to think about that piece being around for the next 100, 200 years.
Yeah.
The last one would be, does Bill believe in aliens?
No, I don't.
You can't even keep a straight face to it. Okay.
No, I don't. That's a good one. I just kind of shot from the hip on it, right?
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
Well, Bill, it's been a pleasure to do two of these with you. Only one of them's actually recorded, but
that's all right.
Look, we'll have you back, let's say in Q1, to talk about the updates of OnePath and the changes that it's making in the industry. And anything new in the AI world, we'll have you back in a few months to talk about it.
Awesome, man. I can't wait.
I appreciate it, dude.